This
Kenya, are you there?
conference will now be recorded.
Kenya. Okay, so it sounds like we lost Kenya somehow, everybody. So hopefully she'll be able to come back on the line. So, hey, this is modern technology for you. It's the way it goes sometimes. I really don't know what happened with Kenya. Kenya, are you back? Hello, Kenya. Okay. I don't know what happened with Kenya. So it looks like she's on the call, but I can't hear her.
Pascal.
Yes,
Pascal,
sir.
this is Franco. Listen, what she needs to do is call from another phone because the way she's doing it is the same mistake that I made the last time when I got somehow got disconnected from your call. I tried to call you back from my same number and I just couldn't go through. I think she might have the same problem.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will text Kenya. Sorry, you guys. Sorry for the noise. Hold on. Kenya, are you there? Okay. We lost you for a minute.
Yes, I was trying to fix my volume. I do apologize, and it kicked me out. So hopefully everyone can hear me, and I'll jump right back in really briefly, quickly.
Oh,
So,
okay, please do. As a matter of fact, if you don't mind kind of taking it from the step one or from the first thing that you were talking about out of the 7, that would be appreciated.
So basically, there's going to be 7 steps to decide if bankruptcy is right for you. And one of the steps is going to be to make sure that you are eligible to file, which means that is based off of the accumulated debt you've accumulated over the years. And if you earn less than the state median income or monthly basis to submit basically a test, which is called a means test, which will allow them to examine the financial side of your situation, meaning your income, expenses, and any secured and unsecured debt. I would say anything from $5,000 in debt up is definitely something to look at. If number 2 will be based off of your situation. There's many things that you can do, couple things you can do for credit. If you have to help your credit, if you have like 3,000, 5,000 less in debt, there may be ways, if you can see yourself, if you're in a position where you're able to say, split that debt up into monthly payments to, give yourself a time, like say, hey, in between 6 and 12 months, I want to have my debt paid down. In order to do that, I have enough debt accumulated that on top of everyday expenses in my current lifestyle situation, I will need to pay an additional maybe $350 a month in order to stay on track to have this debt cleared within 6 to 12 months. If that's the case and you can afford to do that, then definitely I would take that road. I would definitely do that. If you cannot, if you say, I don't see my situation improving soon, from anywhere from 6 months to a year from now, and I don't have a plan to help me get out of debt, then definitely you may want to take a look at bankruptcy for you. The third one would be there's 2 types. There's consumer debt and there's business debt. I mainly deal with consumer debt. Do I know business consumer bankruptcy? Yes. And do I know business bankruptcy? Yes. But I mainly stay on the consumer side. And you want to decide what kind of debts you have. Either one of them can allow you to be able to file for the bankruptcy process. There's 2 kind of debts. That's consumer debt or business debt. So just reiterating, am I able to file? Number 1, Number two, do I see my situation improving? Meaning, do I actually need bankruptcy? And do I have more than $5,000 worth of debt? Number three, or do I need to look for to file bankruptcy for a business, or do I have mainly consumer debts? The fourth one would be understanding the upside and downsides to bankruptcy, which is the most important, information that I feel is necessary, because there are pros and cons. Some of the downside to filing bankruptcy is, one, you cannot file bankruptcy again once you file until 8 years later. So once you file, you have 8 years before you can say that, hey, I need to file again. Another one would be that you cannot purchase a home within until 2 years of discharge of bankruptcy, and we'll talk about discharge down the line. But you cannot purchase a home, so which is people consider maybe a downside, but I don't. But because it didn't take you overnight to accumulate the debt, so to get on the right track, it's not going to take you overnight neither. So bankruptcy or any other process is not going to, for long-term longevity of having a healthy financial situation, is not going to happen overnight. So basically, that is one of the downsides also. And another downside that people consider a downside is that it does show up on your credit. It lets people, it lets others know that you have filed bankruptcy, and that can stay on your file up to anywhere to 10 years as far as your credit go. Some of the pros, the pluses of filing bankruptcy would be if someone's in a situation of any garnishment, eviction process, anything like that, that bankruptcy can immediately stop the calls, stop that garnishment, stop any eviction processes for a short time. It's called an automatic stay. So a lot of people who have gotten themselves in a situation where they may be on the streets being evicted, that is definitely should look at bankruptcy to stop that. If they're garnishing your check, you know what I mean, and you're not really able to, with the garnishment, you're still, living paycheck to paycheck, plus they're taking money out. I'm not making it, and I don't see my situation changing. I have more than $5,000 worth of debt. You should definitely look at bankruptcy. Also, another plus for bankruptcy, which is the huge plus, people think, that the creditors frown upon you once you file bankruptcy, but they do just the opposite. Let me tell you why. They want your business because they know that you can't file again for 8 years. So the moment a person files bankruptcy, they will receive all kind of letters, uh, pre-approved credit cards, car dealerships, things of that nature. Because, and people wonder why. It's because, once you make this debt, first off, depending on what kind of bankruptcy you filed, you may have no debt whatsoever right now, and you're just like a brand new fresh start, starting all over again, and they want your business. So that is a plus side for me. The last one I would say, another one would be, is it gives you a fresh start. Everyone's not able, to make monthly payments and clear up their credit the old-fashioned way, or the way where we're making payments. Everybody's debt now these days, with different things like student loans and things like that, add up, have way more than the normal debt. So they're not able to pay that off. So good thing is that they do have the bankruptcy. Another con people may come across, meaning a downside to bankruptcy, is that you're not able to file bankruptcy on your student loans. You can list them, but they're not going to go away. It's not going to go away on any criminal offenses, any court fees or anything like that. Child support, it's not going to go away. That's still going to be on there. Now, if something happens, a plus side, a benefit with someone's license or anything like that, then filing bankruptcy could wipe away your reinstatement fee, reinstate their license, and that is definitely a plus also. Okay, so moving on. Another understanding of bankruptcy is what type of bankruptcy would be right for you. There's several, there's chapter 7, and a chapter 7 bankruptcy basically says I have no money, I have more than $5,000 worth of debt, and I'm not able to repay a dime. The way my lifestyle is set up, I'm not able to make payments or anything. I need to wipe out all my debt. That is a chapter 7. That is the most common bankruptcy process is chapter 7. Chapter 13 is a bankruptcy process that allows you to say, hey, I'm in a jam, I'm in some trouble, but if you guys can come up with a reasonable or monthly payment, I have that to be able to make those payments on there, basically telling the creditors, hey, I don't have, I'm in trouble, I'm over my head, but I still want to make payments to try to resolve any situation. That's a chapter 13, and it's called a repayment plan. Those are the two that you're going to look at. If you're a consumer, if you're a business owner, you would look at chapter 11, and that would be able to allow you to file a bankruptcy on any business debt that you have there. And so basically, the process after you've realized, is bankruptcy for me? Do I have enough debt to file? You know what I'm saying? Do I see my situation improving? Do I have to file for bankruptcy, or can I make monthly payments? All right. Do I understand what is bankruptcy? You know what I'm saying? What can I file? Chapter 7 or chapter 13? Do I need to wipe all my debts, or can I make repayment? Once you're understanding that, and the biggest thing is once you're understanding, why does bankruptcy benefit me? Why does bankruptcy, what part of bankruptcy is a downside to actually filing bankruptcy? Once you figured out those things, then at that time, you will be looking for two different people, either a lawyer bankruptcy attorney costs anywhere from minimum 700 to 1500. Okay. And
does that excuse me one second? Does that include that doesn't include the fees for
no,
the court though, right?
no,
So
it does not.
that's just the attorney fee.
Right. That's just the
Okay.
attorney fee. The attorney fee itself is just between anywhere from 700 to 1500. Now, you still do have to file. The bankruptcy courts charge normally with most states is $335, and that is something that you'll pay to the courts. And when you do pay, they have several ways that you can pay. You'll either pay the 335, you'll either file a installment form where you'll say, hey, I can't afford the 335, I need to break it up. Or if you fall in certain guidelines, even though you're working and you don't make enough, there is a waiver. Most of the people I've had, uh, a good bit of people pay, but I have had a lot of people that even though they worked every day, they still qualify to have their filing fee waived. The attorney, everywhere you look, you're going to see where it says that basically you should have an attorney. Yes, a bankruptcy attorney goes to school. Do they know the laws? Everything they're supposed to do. And all in all, once you pay the attorney, guess what? They have somebody like me, somebody like, meaning that in their office, they may have somebody like a paralegal who does all the paperwork and get that filed over to the court. So that's what you pay the attorney for. And they may do it actually somewhat electronic. So they may have a system where they might push a couple buttons, but for all in all, they have somebody else, a paralegal actually fill out the forms from the information you provided. Somebody like me, the same thing. Bankruptcy preparer, has to follow all the laws. My signature and social security number goes on every piece of paperwork. They are definitely strict when it comes to bankruptcy preparers like me. So I don't charge as much. I'm not allowed. So there is a max that I am allowed to charge for each state as far as doing a bankruptcy process. I am nowhere near with the attorney's pay. They're not going to allow me to even do that because they want you to go to the attorney. My process is the same as the attorney. The difference is I'm not allowed to give you any advice of legal advice. I am, I gather the information from you, everything that I need to fill out the bankruptcy forms. So basically, in layman terms, I prepare your actually bankruptcy forms. At that time, once I prepare everything, you sign everything. It is your responsibility to get your bankruptcy paperwork to the bankruptcy courts. That is the difference between me and an attorney. The attorney, once you pay him all the money that you pay him, he should walk it over there by hand. But they do it electronically, or they will make sure that everything gets there and you don't have to deal with the bankruptcy court. So definitely that is the difference between me as a bankruptcy preparer and also between an attorney. And like I said, I've been doing this since 2012. I have not had a problem. You know what I'm saying? I've saved people a lot of money. So definitely you want to look into where you want to go. Those are the differences as far as that go. Once you find who is going to do, was you talking to me, Pascal?
No, no, go ahead. I have
Oh,
some questions for you. I don't mean to
go
interrupt
ahead.
you, though. I
No
apologize.
problem. No, no, no. Go right ahead.
So just one of the thoughts that I had is like, okay, so my situation, I don't know how many years ago now, I'm talking about my situation
What?
that I had,
Mm-hmm.
so can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So
Yes. I
I
can hear
had a situation like, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago now,
you. Mm-hmm.
and I was in a ton of debt, so I was over $1 million in debt. And what I ended up doing is I filed for bankruptcy, but I didn't go to court actually, right? So I did that because I just needed to get everything off of my shoulders, so to speak, so I can kind of have time to figure things out. It gave me, I don't know how many months of freedom it gave me from calls
90 days.
and everything else. So, and honestly, paying that 1 point some odd $1 million worth of debt just wasn't going to happen at that point in time because I just,
Right.
everything was just went under. So, I mean, what do you think about that type of doing that? I mean, so because I didn't go to court, the bankruptcy didn't go through, but it gave me that time I needed. I'm not asking for legal advice, obviously. I'm just posing a question to you. What do you think about having done something like that? Because what happened with me, the bankruptcy showed up on my credit file because the bankruptcy wasn't discharged and I didn't go through the whole process. It was easier to get off. What do you think about that type of thing?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, great. Okay, so in that situation, just to explain, so the bankruptcy process, once you get started itself, takes at least from time of conception to actually discharge, meaning that you went to court and they've discharged and said, okay, let's discharge. That means everything, all your debt is gone. It takes it takes about, it's the, I say it takes about 5 months, 5 to 6 months. It's really 90 days, then another one. So I say about 5 months. I say max 5 months. Okay. Now, there are people, and I have clients who do it, that start the process. So once you turn your paperwork in and the bankruptcy courts get it, they contact all your creditors and let them know that you filed bankruptcy. Now, within a time before you actually go to court, none of your creditors are allowed to reach out to you or contact you. So therefore, you're relieved, and that's another benefit. You are relieved, and that's what I was talking about, the automatic stay. So you're relieved of any collection calls, any garnishments. Right now, you're relieved of any eviction processes, also any repossession of your vehicle. You are relieved of that. And yes, for the short time, you either have a chance like in your case, what you did, you had a chance. You only needed, and this goes back to number two. One of the things, making sure that your situation warranted for bankruptcy. Do I see myself being able to get out of this within between 6 months to a year? So in your situation, you just needed a few months to have them get off your back, to figure out what you needed to do, and you decided that you didn't need to follow through with the actual bankruptcy proceedings. Okay. Now, what that meant was, once you didn't follow through, yes, it is on, bankruptcy is on your file at that time, and also all your debtors are back on there also. Once, so they're able to continue to contact you. They are, after that, they can pick up right where they left off. Any eviction, collection, repossessions, uh, garnishments, they are able to do that. And that's why it's so important for everybody's situation. My thoughts and my opinion on that: if it works for you, then it works for you.
Yeah.
Just, now I wouldn't, now it's not going to work for somebody who, what I'm saying, who starts it and say, my lights is off and I needed them to get it back on. And once my lights got on, I wasn't so hot to strike the iron as I was when my lights was off. So I think I'm out the clear, and next thing you know, guess what? Now everything is gone. I owe a huge debt. They cut me off again. You know, so it all depends on your situation. Also, when you don't go through with the bankruptcy proceeding all the way, you are allowed to refile again. So you don't have to wait the 8 years.
Right, and for me that was a big consideration, right? Because for me, I didn't want, I figured for me, if I'm gonna go bankrupt, I want to go bankrupt on tens of millions of dollars of somebody else's money. For me, everybody's different, right? And so I just, once again, I just needed to have that time, or I didn't have any debt to worry about, so on and so forth, and then it gave me a chance to move. All that good stuff. So for me, that worked out. But so the other question I have for you is I've heard you mention, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I heard you mention several times about, $5,000 as a starting point. So my question to you, because I've heard different, thresholds, right? So why for you is it $5,000 as opposed to $20,000 for somebody else, or what have you? Is it just the type of client base that you typically have, or is that what you think is a threshold that people should look at?
Now, yeah, good question. Good question. I would say, I say 5,000 minimum. Somebody can have it taken a look at, because there is there's a variety of client base. You know what I'm saying? I say 5,000 as the minimum. To look at, like, what is really your 5,000? I mean, what I'm saying? Because with $5,000 debt, if I have a $60,000 job with $5,000 debt, I'm not going to do a bankruptcy for that person. I'm going to advise that person to pay off. You know what I'm saying? But if I have, I'm going to look at what the debt is. I just say 5,000 minimum. But I'm going, like, somebody else that'll come in who really doesn't make much money, who, and they have $5,000 worth of debt that only is going to accumulate. They can't get ahead of the ball, then, and they can't make payments, then I'm going to look at that and see their options. Have I had anyone file with me for $5,000 worth of debt? No. I'm definitely going to look at other things. I'm going to look at your credit. Maybe some $5,000 could be like $30 here, 40, $100 here. You may not be able to get done in 6 months. Get that clear, but let's look at other options. So as a preparer, I definitely just don't look into, because you want to file bankruptcy, that I'm going to do it for you. I've turned many people away.
Okay, so $5,000 then is just that's your you can be making 20 grand a year or something, but if you're and then 5,000, that means a lot to you. At 20 grand a year, 5 grand I mean, it's a quarter of what you make. So, okay, I get it,
Right.
but once again, for a person that's making, as you stated, 60 grand a year, then the threshold would need to be higher.
It's going to be higher. Yes. It's
Okay,
definitely.
cool.
Hmm.
So the other thing that I wanted to ask you is, so I I was always under the impression of, apparently, that Chapter 11 can be utilized for personal as well, but Chapter 11 should be just if you have a business interest. Is that what my understanding is?
A basically chapter. Sorry, hold on one second here. Chapter 11. Um, it's form of bankruptcy that does involve a reorganization of a debtor's business affairs. So mainly, yes, that is for like corporate. I mean, you know what I'm saying, if you have a corporation. So it leans definitely more towards a business than it is to an actual consumer. So you know what I'm saying, you may they may you may get it looked at like you really going for your consumer debts, but you know what I'm saying, you have business debts that lean you towards, even though you're based, you're considering your consumer debts the most, that's what you're going in as, you may not even have this business anymore, you know what I mean? And once everything is looked at, looks like that you may qualify for a chapter 7 more than you may qualify for a chapter 11 rather than a chapter 7, based off of the business aspect of your assets. So definitely chapter 11 is going to be a form of bankruptcy that involves more of the debtor's business affair debts and assets.
Okay. And so between a Chapter 7 and a Chapter 13, you can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, I can
Okay.
hear you.
Okay. So between a Chapter 7 and a Chapter 13 for personal, you were saying earlier that the vast majority of your client base will go after a 7, which is total and complete, as opposed to a 13, which is reorganization. And I understand why, right? So obviously, most people just say, I want to be done with it because it's going to be on my record anyway. So it makes sense. But from your perspective, which one do you see would be, let's say that, I don't want to say that this is the average because different people have, but I've heard that, average income is like $58,000 to $62,000 a year. I know a lot of people that don't make anywhere near that, but that's what they say.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Right.
So, do you think that just getting it off your back completely is a better look, or doing the reorganization, which is a 13?
Okay, so depending on, so with the reorganization, both of them are going to show up on your credit. Both of them. One means all the debtors are on there and I'm still paying them back. Any missed payments on there will definitely put your chapter 13 in jeopardy. Any missed payments, because life has a funny way of showing up. I'm going to, for the most part, my opinion, me personally, which would do a chapter 7, because if I had a situation where I needed to get out and needed a fresh start, then I want a complete fresh start. Meaning I don't want to get down. Yeah, these 6 months I'm doing great. I can pay 350 for restructure. Next 6 months, life has a funny way of showing up, and now I'm back in a bind. On top of back in a bind, I have a chapter 13 on here that I'm gonna need restructured again and need to seek help to try to see how I can be able to continue to honor my arrangement with them. So I'm going to say chapter 7 because it releases all your debts, give you that fresh start, nothing hanging over your head.
And that obviously it makes the most sense to me as well, right? Because why play with the people? Just let me just be done with you, and then that way I can go on with my life. So
right.
I agree, but I just wanted to ferret out what you felt about the two different avenues.
Look, if I'm able to do repayment, if I'm able to pay my credit off in payment installments, why would I be doing it? Why would I want a chapter 13 on? Why wouldn't I just contact my creditors and do the same thing that you're doing? hey, I owe you guys $2,000. I got 900.
Exactly.
You know what I
And
mean?
which makes me say to people on the call that we have a credit repair portion, as everybody knows, and do you yourself can do a compromise with these people. I mean, they're, especially if the debt's old and it doesn't look like they're going to get any money, and it's already at the second or third collection agency. You just offer them the money. I mean, and just get them paid off and have it show up on your, one or two things are going to happen. You can have it show up on your credit as a paid collection, which means that then you can go out and start, utilizing the information which I've given to everybody on these calls. Go get the book, Good Credit is Sexy, very powerful book, and you can remove, those collections, right? And then the other thing you could always do is, instead of making payments, is to call the creditor up, and if you have the money, just pay off one at a time. Build up your money, pay off one at a time, but have them, send you a fax with the wording, very important, with the wording that they will expunge the debt, because that's the terminology that they, utilize, from all three credit bureaus. I don't care if they tell you it's only on two. You want them to say they will expunge the debt from all three credit bureaus if you pay them in full within 48 hours or whatever you can next day them the money to. So, but the thing that I like, everybody, is, your scenario might be way different. Each person's scenario is different.
Right.
But obviously, the Chapter 7, in my opinion, and I'm not an attorney, obviously, sounds like if you're going to do it, then that's what I would do. So what else do you have, Keenya, that for the people on the call?
And the only thing, I guess, I think I basically gave you guys the basics of, and all the information. That's, I mean, it doesn't have to be complicated. You know what I'm saying? That the basic information I gave you is the basic information to say, hey, do I want to file it? I know how long the process is going to take. The only thing that I think I didn't get over is what happens, after you file. All your creditors get, notified. Then they set up what they call is a 3-4-1 meeting. And you'll get that meeting probably a month and a half after you filed a petition saying, hey, I want to file bankruptcy. At that time, your meeting will be scheduled, and you will go to a meeting place, most likely courthouse or some type of facility like that. There's no judge. It's called a bankruptcy trustee person, individual. And basically, a bankruptcy trustee is someone that the state has hired to make sure that you're not abusing the bankruptcy process, and 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 to make sure that all the information that you provided is correct. So at this meeting, the bankruptcy, you'll go in, the bankruptcy trustee's duties, depending on the type of case, definitely is going to look at about the debtors, the creditors, how short the bankruptcy, how long you've had this debt, how short you've had this debt. Then that bankruptcy is going to be in charge once he asks you questions. Like, it's very quick. It lasts about 15 minutes, if so. So he asks you, hey, what I'm saying, why are you filing bankruptcy? That is the number one question. You explain to them, hey, why you're filing bankruptcy. I know when I filed, I stated, hey, what I'm saying, I have a lot of debt, and I don't have the money to make repayment. After that, any documents that they requested from me, I had at that time. After that 15 minutes, that's basically what he does. Check your information, make sure you have all the documents, ask you that question. Then after that, if they make a decision, they're not going to tell you up front, but most of the time, in about another month, you'll receive a letter of discharge, which means that you're no longer in bankruptcy proceedings. You no longer owe those debtors, and you're free to start a fresh start. That's when you're able to go out I've had clients get who's never had a brand new car before, and that were able to go out and get brand new cars. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, this debt didn't happen overnight. So basically, those who want to purchase houses, homes, I've seen in 2 years, credit is fabulous. You have a good 720 score. You're able to, get you a home, and that bankruptcy doesn't stop you. So basically, and what I want to leave you guys with is that, bankruptcy is up to you. It could be for you based off your situation. It could be something that is not for you, your situation. So definitely take those 7 notes that I said into deciding if bankruptcy is right for you.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. If you would be so kind as to give everybody your name again, as well as your contact information for those who,
Okay.
you know.
All righty. My name is Keenya Murray. And like I said, I've been a bankruptcy preparer for about 12 years. I also have a website, which is Fresh Start Bankruptcy dot Wix, WIXSITE.com / KJ King John Mary 26. That'll bring you straight to my site. And most of my bankruptcies I've done for people, I've never even met them. So, and a lot of my referrals come from those same very people. Um, and you'll be able to look on my site and be able to get many of the other questions or the questions that you have answered on that site. I have an email also, and you can reach me at my first and last name, Keenya, Keee, and as in Nancy, YA, Murray, MURRAY, at gmail.com. And hopefully you can provide that information to anybody that texts you, Pascal, if they
Absolutely.
need it. All righty. Other
Your
than that,
contact, do you have a contact phone number you want to give out?
yes, I do. My phone number is 770-865-8980. Once again, that is 770-865-8980. And Pascal will be also able to provide you with that information. Also, I have no problem answering any questions or anything that you need. So definitely reach out to me if you have any questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kenya, for taking your valuable, precious time to come on and share your knowledge with us. It's appreciated greatly. It really is.
And
I wanna jump over to once again. Thank you, Kenya. And please, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to give her a call.
Pascal,
right.
could I ask one question real quick?
Sure.
This is Denise.
Hey, Dee.
Hi. Good morning. Great call.
I'm
Real
here.
quick, of the bankruptcies that you file and you see, what would you say, just as an overall, are they medical, or are they just credit card debt, or are they a mixture of both?
I would say over what I see, I would say depending
Hold on a
on
second. Hold on. Kenya, I can't hear your answer because there's a lot of extra noise in the background. There's like cars opening up, all kinds of stuff. So
yeah,
go ahead. Now it's quiet.
okay.
So go ahead, Kenya, if you can answer.
All right. So it would depend on the situation. Those who I've done bankruptcy for who has not had a consistent level of health insurance, yes, it's going to be definitely the healthcare. You know what I mean? Those people have a ton of the health with only either no credit card debt or, I mean, basically, or very little. Depending if someone's had, health insurance, then that's not going to be the focus of theirs. You're not going to see a whole bunch of that. You're going to see more of, of the credit card debt there. So now on the both spectrum, to be honest with you, without either one of those two, the most debt I see is student loan, the debt you can't wipe out. The most debt is student loan on either one, whether that person didn't have much income or this person has a lot of income, both of them have had extreme amount student loan debt. And hopefully, as a country or whatever, we can do something about that, because that is a debt that you can't get wiped out. They take it in
Correct.
consideration, you know what I'm saying, but you can't wipe it out. I hope that answered your question.
It did. I'm in financial services, and one of the things that they say that's one of the biggest bankruptcy filing is medical. And so, because you do a lot of filings, I wanted to see how true that statement
Yeah, and it
is.
depends on, yes, and they are right. They are right, but there's levels to it. They are right,
Correct.
but not everybody has, what I'm saying. There's people, even if they've had different jobs, they still carried medical insurance from job to job or something like that. Those people is going to be different. Whereas, yes, majority of the people that don't have consistent health care, that is the number one. I believe student loan, medical, and then credit card would be the top three in that order.
Yeah, because our student loans are now second to our deficit as far as
Mm-hmm.
just the amount that's out there. And with these
Yeah.
colleges every year raising their fees, it's just getting crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have to do something. You know what I'm saying? We have to do
Absolutely.
something. Yeah, because I mean, I have over 100. Well, I used to have over. I probably have. I mean, it's not a debt in it, but I've had over $100,000 in student loans.
Well,
And I have, right. I mean, and if I could do it all again, it wouldn't be that way. You know what I mean? I am also, not only do I do that, like I said, I have a master's in counseling. So I do guidance counselors for schools, and, back, and I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, I'm gonna wrap it up real
No, no, go
quick.
ahead, please, please,
No,
go ahead.
no, but back in growing up in my day, depending on how old you guys are, but in my day growing up, you were taught that, what I'm saying, you went to high school for 4 years, you were something if you went to college, what I'm saying, especially a
right.
4 year college, but with technology and different things in today's society that has changed, that is no longer the in thing, because
Correct.
today's kids are growing up a little more savvier, meaning that these kids are in arts and technology and things of that nature, that you no longer have to go. I wouldn't suggest, and I'm a counselor for schools, and I tell my students, I get questions to figure out, are you a 4 year college student? That means you want to be a doctor. You have to go to college for that. You want to be a teacher. You have to go there. You want to be a lawyer. You have to go there. But if you want to fix cars, there's no need for you to go to college and waste that kind of money when you can get an 18-month program and come right out and get a job faster than the 4 year schools. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. We do need to educate on that, and you're exactly right. The prestige of the 4 year college, UCLA, USC, and all those, Morehouse and Howard and Princeton, and it's expensive. And to go there for be a history major or whatever, what at the end of the day, as I told my children, go online, and you want to do this, you want to do that, make sure there's a job there waiting for you. And so my daughter changed
Exactly.
her major because she went online, and what she wanted, which was graphic arts, wasn't quite there for her. And so she changed her
Mhm.
major. And so now she's her last year in high school, and yes, she's ready to go. She knows what she needs to do. She'll be at a 4 year Cal State versus, the university, and will get the education that she needs, and
Mhm.
we'll go from there. Because you said
Exactly.
our time today has changed. A Cal State may not have been prestigious during our time. You're absolutely correct. They
Mhm.
wanted, the bigger school. So, but thank you so much. I don't want to take too much of Pascal's time. Thank you for
Exactly. Me neither.
letting me ask the question. I think this was helpful as well to the listeners on the line, and I appreciate you coming on. So thank you very much.
No, thank you guys for having me. Everyone have a terrific, a marvelous Monday. And thank you, Pascal, for inviting
You're
me.
very welcome. But before anybody gets off the phone, I want if Dr. Barbara is there. I know she was crazy tired because she went to bed this morning actually. But Dr. Barbara, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear
Hello,
me?
Dr. Barber?
She
Hello,
says
can you
she's
hear me?
here.
Oh, okay. Because I can barely hear you. You're probably like crazy tired. You had like this awesome testimonial that I really wanted you to put out to everybody before we got off the phone about you journaling. And Kenya, I'll break that down to you later. But in short, last week we started a journaling process for the
Mhm.
people that come on the call. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you.
And so we started a journaling process, and I'm giving out $75 to anyone who emailed me every day a page out of their journal. And so, but Dr. Barbara was started journaling as well, and she's had some really positive things happen. And I'll tell you guys a short thing what happened in my existence. So, Dr. Barbara, go ahead.
Okay, first, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry for being late. I had a real, I'm still in transitioning, so we had a night, or should I say morning. In any case, I had talked to Pascal the week before we started the journaling. I had told him about, I had some questions about, I had to dig deep and find out what it is I'm supposed to be doing because I have transitioned into another place and I had no longer can do business like I originally did business. And with the technology today, you really can't afford to do business old school like you used to. And so he asked me a few questions and we went through it. And then I just kind of wrote down some things that after I pushed everything off the top of it, I just started writing down some things that I used to do. And when I had another conversation with him, I was telling him, I said, I really realize, I've come to the realization that the business format that I was doing before is absolutely dead. It's just absolutely dead. Reason number one, because most of my team and partners that I did business with for 30 odd some years had passed away. So, my backup team, my HR, all the people I worked with were just no longer there. And so it meant I'd have to go through tons of people to find the right mate, teammates for the business. And it was just like, that's going to take too much time, number one. Number two, it just doesn't work out. It doesn't seem like that is what's needed to be done. So Pascal came and said, okay, well, the next week he said, okay, let's do our journaling. So the very same day that I started doing my journaling, um, I'm doing private money lending and I wrote it out. And one extra thing I did was when I wrote it out and put the date, I was led to signature it, to sign it as it's done and put the time. And I did that. And the very same afternoon, I had a friend of mine that I talked to. He was a business um, associate. And he called me and he said, hey, I need to talk to you. I have some things I need you to assist me to do. And when I finally got a chance to call him back, and we were on the phone for 2.5 hours, he became my first $15,000 client. Now, mind you, I hadn't even downloaded or put all of the parts in position for doing private money lending. However, it came before I even got a chance to download anything. And I just couldn't wait. I said, oh my God. So I text Pascal and I said, listen, I said, let me tell you what's going on. I couldn't wait to tell you. Let me tell you what's going on. And I gave him the same information that I just gave you, which was, like, what? In the same day we started journaling, the same day I wrote it out is the same day the doors just flung open, just came. And it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Uh, when you line up with the universe, it will give you what you are actually.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my testimony.
Great testimony. Wow. Hello? Hello?
Thing went
Did we
down
lose
for.
Pascal?
Yeah, I'm
Hello?
here. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
there you
here.
go.
I'm here. So I was going to say, Dr. Barber and I had a discussion, and I honestly believe that her $15,000 client that came not just because of the journaling, it came because she had started putting her mind in that direction. And I'm a big believer in that, which is when we put our mind in a certain direction, because we had been chopping it up, talking, right? And you know, so once she started putting her mind in that direction and then journaling it out on what she, you know, how she sees herself on a daily basis, what she's accomplishing, I think the combination of those things is what brought her $15,000 client. You know, because if you got to believe it and feel it and know which direction you're going in before it just, you know, it's before it comes to you. And somebody's making a lot of extra noise, and stop it, please. It's irritating. Just stop. So, anywho, but with Dr. Barbara, you know, I mean, dude, $15,000 client. Within a short period of time of her focusing her energy on that. And as you all know, I've been saying to you that, like, for me, my little testimonial, if you will, is that I've been talking about, not talking about it, but actually saying that before the end of this month, I'm going to start my podcast. And lo and behold, I had to go to another funeral over the weekend and a baby's birthday party out in San Diego. So we just went and stayed in San Diego for the weekend. And the deal was that I ran into my niece. I haven't seen my niece in I don't know how long. And sure enough, she took on another job as a facilitator, and she was able to, with this job, you know, they set up all the background stuff for people that go out and do shows, you know, like the electronic show, this show, that show. They set up all that stuff for them. So she ended up having to dealing with several different very big time podcasters, and also getting information from these big time podcasters on you know, on what to do and how to do it, right? And so she was able to give me that information, and I'm just like, dude, how awesome is that? Because it's been in my mind, I've been speaking of it, and so now my niece, out of the blue, was like, you know, Pascal, I wasn't even going to come drive out to San Diego, because she lives out here in Orange County with me, but she was like, I came out, and, you know, boom, here's all this information that you need. And it just happened by happenstance that I mentioned to her, yeah, I'm going to start doing, you know, this podcasting thing. And then she was like, oh my God, there's this information, that information. I'm working with these people over here. I'm doing this, that, and the other. And it was just awesome. So I don't know who is making all that noise, but good Lord, is like killing me. So anyways, y'all, listen, you know, for those of you who have did your journals every day, text me 951-515-4728. If you've done your journal every day, I'm going to send you your $75. And you have a choice. You can either get your money via PayPal, or you can get your money through Zelle. Those are the only two options that you have. PayPal, I'll PayPal you $75, or I'll Zelle you $75. Okay, so you all know who you are that did your journaling and text me a page every single day. So please feel free. I got your money waiting for you, and that's that. Does anybody else have anything they want to add on the call before we get off? Anybody? All right. So if no one has anything to add, thank you guys so very much for coming on the call. Keenya, thank you very much for
Thank you.
coming on the call and sharing your valuable information with us. And Dr. Barbara, as always, thank you for coming on the call, my dear. Denise, and, you know, all the regulars, you know, Franco, you know, all you guys, thank you so much for coming on the call as well. And if anybody needs any information on bankruptcy, please call Keenya and, you know, chop it up with her and she'll be able to help you out. And for everybody else, thank you so very much. Your presence on the call is awesome, and I really hope that you guys are getting something out of these calls. So until next time, take care. Have an awesome, 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 healthy, happy, and prosperous week, day, month, year, all that good stuff. Take care, y'all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.